Rivian's questionable thinking, the UK tries for a different backdoor, and iPhone schematics leaked. This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by Clean My Mac and the new Cloud Cleanup feature. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. Next one, I know we've talked about this, and sometimes it feels like we beat it into the ground, but Rivian says customers will appreciate a lack of CarPlay eventually. And if you go in and read this, this was the Rivian representative, justifying that they want their existence and they want complete control, and they imply that they will be doing a better job of it than Apple or Google or any of the others for the in-car experience. And I just shake my head, and in fact, the article's fun, but the comments are even better. Mm-hmm. Because they kind of call Rivian out as, you're not exactly General Motors or Ford, and you think you can do better. So does anybody here, I know a couple people that have Rivians, but anybody here know anyone that has this or?
No.
Okay.
Well, David Sparks has one.
David has a Rivian?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Tesla.
He may have before, but he bought a Rivian, I think, earlier this year.
Yeah, he was chatting about it on the show.
Oh, I missed that.
I don't think he had a Tesla because it sounded like that was his first electric vehicle.
Tesla's in the same boat. They don't do CarPlay.
That's right.
I can speak for that. Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, they do have Apple Music directly into the car. We've talked about this before, and I don't want to beat this dead horse. I still think the issue comes down to that the full self-driving module that's very much a part of their automation system and their screen and all that. They don't want to be using the CarPlay or the Apple Maps as that. They want you to use their system for full self-driving. I can understand it. Okay. I don't know enough about Rivians to have a real comment on that, but I can understand where Tesla is. And in my mind, Apple Music, and I'm fine with the other navigation and map system in the Tesla because it does everything that I want to do, like Waze, for example, tells me what's going on with the traffic around me. So anyway, I'll stop there. But.
Well, Webb, I respect. I think I would have more respect for any of these organizations if they just came out, and I know it's unrealistic, but if they just came out and said, we don't want to give up control, that, we just, and I don't believe that's the only thing.
They call that CarPlay Ultra.
Did say that.
Yeah.
I think GM did say that.
Well, and that's kind of what Rivian is saying
it's basically,
right now, too.
And it's basically like, we want to sell your data. That's, we don't want Apple to own the data. We want to own it so that, we can, and we want to sell you subscriptions for the stuff you get for free with CarPlay. So, and it's kind of interesting because I was at a electric vehicle event 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I met and had a long conversation with a guy that was a salesman at a Chevy dealership. He personally owned a Tesla, which is kind of funny. He says he has to hide it around back when he goes to work. But he said that the fact that not having CarPlay was probably the biggest complaint he'd hear from prospective customers. And he thought well, they're going to have to come out with an update at some point and enable it, and he seemed to think that was possible. I don't know about that, but it was interesting that he was like, yeah, I just it's a complaint I hear every day. Which doesn't mean they're selling cars. They're selling the Chevy Blazer is one of the top EVs in the market right now. But
Brian?
Yeah, when I was looking at this article, I had a different take to it, and one of kind of interest of what will this look like in a year and a half from now, because there's a quote in the article that talks about that one of the reasons why they're doing this is to kind of connect all their systems, and so was it the CEO of Rivian? I missed who. Yeah, the CEO of Rivian.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he had mentioned something to the effect of, all the decision to connect the different applications, and he talks about what's the vehicle state, is it in drive, is it parked, what conditions outside the vehicle, so forth. So, the title of the article says they'll come to appreciate the lack of CarPlay eventually. So this would be a very interesting article if we can pin it on our calendar for 18 months from now and to say, hey, maybe you're right.
Or, we could go back to 2016 and, we're going to have full self-driving this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another conversation.
I don't plug my phone in.
But it's kind of, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Did
plug my
anybody here
phone
see the
in
show, Monk?
What? Sorry, Jim, one more time. Say it again.
Anybody here ever watch the show Monk?
Sure.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Because this like totally. Remember how he used to say, "You'll thank me later."
Yeah.
That's what this totally made me. You'll thank me later.
Yes.
And everybody was like, "No, we're not going to thank you later."
Marty,
I'll pass. That's cool.
you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Webb?
Just real quick, that one of the things that's kind of a subject to this is, will the car manufacturers get into a point where they're going to sell you their technology on a subscription basis? And that could very well happen, and maybe that's the play that GM wants to do. I want to go back to, and we talked about it on this show about 3 years ago, maybe even longer now, that BMW tried to do that, where their heated seats was on a subscription basis. Okay. And that went nowhere, and they just got ridiculed for it badly. I think that there's a big discussion to come on if they're going to be doing subscription basis in a car. Could be wrong.
They keep thinking that they can do it. They just see that.
But they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, well, they haven't gotten away with it, but they really want it.
And I can even take that back because there is a subscription on the Tesla. Now that I think about it, but it's for their Premier Access, their internet access.
You get
stuff
connectivity.
Like that, so. Yeah.
Well, look, there's certain services that I think would make, or enhancements that might make sense, or at least be acceptable. Forget make sense. Just be more acceptable. But the heated seats, no, I struggle with that one a lot.
Yeah.
Eric?
They seem to keep making the assumption that everyone is going to live in the car and never be anywhere else and not have any other life other than the car. And that's not why people are using CarPlay. They're using CarPlay because they're in the middle of doing a bunch of things, and they might be at home, and then they're walking, and then they're in the car, and then they're at work, and they've got continuity across the entire time with CarPlay. And that's why people want it. And when people don't have it in the car, then they're propping up iPads on the side seat or up above on the dash, or trying to add another display and working around the situation and in a less safe manner.
Yeah. I do want to highlight just a couple of, and I'm going to not read the whole comment, but there were a couple things. One gentleman in the comments said, to me, one of the greatest things about CarPlay is that consistency across cars. I don't have to learn a new system when I'm in my car versus a rental versus a friend's car, or when I get something new.
Yeah.
Next commenter said, bold statement coming from someone who with no leverage. There are so many EV choices these days that people will just buy a company that offers them everything they want, including CarPlay. And then the last one, referring to the Rivian CEO, he's selecting customers that don't prioritize CarPlay. This approach will inherently limit the potential size of his customer base. And I think that,
although for now, I think at least 60% of EVs CarPlay is not available because, it's not available in Teslas, not available in Rivians, it's not available in GM EVs. So it's available in pretty much everything else.
Yeah, but Jim, the first commenter also, I wasn't going to bother with that one, but he says Tesla existed before CarPlay and had ample time to develop their own followers. And so, I'm
not sure. I agree. CarPlay's been around a long time, so I'm not sure that it has. For example, Tesla didn't really take off till the Model 3 came out in 2017, and CarPlay was out by then. But yeah, I think the rental thing and just in general, like, if I'm, it's not uncommon for me. For example, this weekend I was on a road trip, and I was going to be stopping at a bunch of places, so I went to Apple Maps on my computer, and I set up a guide, and put all the places I was going to go on my computer and my big screen at my leisure, and got that all set up. And then I get in the car and that's all there, so I'm not fiddling with the, typing in the address in the car. I already did that on my computer, or sometimes I'll do it on my phone, on my couch or whatever. So, I'm eliminating, the need to use the UI. I mean, I'm still using it, the screen, once I'm driving, but I don't have to do that. Or for example, I'm listening to a podcast and I'll be listening to it around the house, and then I get in the car and I hit play, and it just, leaves off, it knows all of my play history and, yada, yada, yada. And if you had more than one car, if you're a family, sometimes you drive one car, sometimes you get another one. Well, your phone's got all your history of where the places you've been, and, so maybe I've never driven to this place in the car I'm in right now, but it doesn't matter. My phone, has that. So it's just so much better. And then also the fact that, there's apps I can buy that extend it to do things that neither Apple or Google or whatever, or the car manufacturer thought of. Like I have an app that does weather radar in the car, Well, that's only because I can, and now Apple has added live activities come up in CarPlay in iOS 26. So, that's a really cool extension that you're not going to get if you don't have CarPlay.
There's so many great comments that have been made here. I mean, I know I'm always listening. I'm listening to podcasts as if I walk out the door, get in the car. Okay, so then the car picks it up, and I just keep on going. I don't have to, select it or figure it out. It just does it. Same thing with, I might, to your point, Jim, I may set up directions, while I'm sitting at in my office computer, and then put it on the phone, and then walk out, and it's already guiding me. I mean, there's just so many aspects to this.
You don't even have to put it on the phone. You've got iCloud, so it just shows up on the phone.
Yeah. So I just don't get it. I understand why they're trying to preserve. Well, it's money, but they also, every time we see one of these articles, and I admit it's a bit self-selecting, but the pushback is significant, and people feel really strongly about it. And I make it an option. Shoot, make it a pay-for option if you really need to. I mean, if you could obviously price yourself out, but if you ask me would I pay an extra $100 to have CarPlay in my car? Absolutely.
Yeah, probably would.
Absolutely.
They could sell a
Well-
subscription.
Yeah.
I
Eric,
think that
stop
might be
talking.
that might be harder though, because if some cars are offering it for free and others are doing it, that's so in your face, and they're trying to do this. Oh, you're going to thank us. We're going to provide this better experience by not giving you this option, and they can sort of do that with a straight face. Whereas if they try to say, oh yeah, here we'll sell you this option that other people give you for free for $100, people are, they're going to really be like, what? No, I don't think you're going to do that. That just like the BMW with the seats thing, that really sets off people's radar. Whereas by doing it this way, they're, a lot of people seem to think, feel like there's some technical, like they believe them that there's some technical benefit to not having CarPlay or, whatever, when it's really just a business decision. But, and I think, when these companies come out and they're selling hundreds of thousands of cars, they're like, yeah, we don't care what some commenters on 9 to 5 Mac say. Who cares? We're selling the cars hand over fists. So, if all their sales go in the tank, then they might be like, oh, well, we better revisit that. But for now, I think they're like, yeah, this is great. People don't care. And they're probably right.
Webb, you look like you wanted to say something.
I don't want to beat a dead horse. I just, for grins, used my Apple Maps and told my Tesla that I want to go to Urbandale, Iowa, and it set the destination to the car. So you can still do some of those things like Jim talked about. I can, and I use the Apple Maps app to do it. Okay. All it does, there's what's that sharing thing with the square with the little arrow on it. Hit that, say, send this to the Tesla app, and then it puts that destination in. So I understand. I understand the argument about CarPlay. Of all the cars that I have 3 cars that have CarPlay, and I like it very much. And like the one comment said, it's a common interface no matter what car I'm in. Because one of the things that I swear, whoever designed the Audi user interface has got to be an idiot. And when you go from one car to the next, there's no commonality, and that's what CarPlay does, gives you the commonality. I think Apple's got a real problem though, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is CarPlay Ultra has not been accepted. Okay. Aston Martin can do it, so if you want to buy a $250,000 SUV, go right for it. And that was a vanity play that Apple did anyway. But they, how do I want to word this?
Well, at least they shipped it.
At least they shipped it. Yep.
Did
Toyota come in and say they're going to take CarPlay? I thought there was another major manufacturer.
Hyundai is saying they're going to do it.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of. Okay, so we'll see.
Well, Barry in the chat room, I think this is really interesting. He says he loves wireless CarPlay in his Toyota RAV4. He has to pay Toyota a subscription in order to be able to lock, unlock, start, turn off the car remotely from the app on his phone.
Yep. Jeep does that too.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Hyundai does that, but you get 3 years free or something like that. A lot of cars do that, but that's separate from CarPlay. That's not nothing to do with CarPlay.
Wow.
That would just piss me off.
Jeff, I'm with you. I'm sitting here thinking Toyota.
Like, I want to start flipping tables just hearing that.
Yeah. That just blows me away.
You can still do all of that stuff. You just can't do it from your phone.
Right.
Paul Conway.
You can lock your car. Good idea.
So I don't have to worry about that. I can just walk away and it locks automatically. But on the Jeep, so.
Paul in the chat room says same thing with Honda. Paul, I have a Honda, and what subscription that I don't know about? Or is that something brand new?
Newer. Must be.
I did not know Honda had any subscription options for anything.
Well, they're poor at marketing to you then.
Perhaps.
Who said Honda? Does Honda have an app that allows you to do things remotely?
I couldn't tell you.
Because the discussion was Toyota, it wasn't Honda.
Yeah, but this
Yeah.
this
There's
is,
a
this is from
comment.
Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's comment
So-
in the chat room. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Hmm.
Okay. If Paul gets back to us, I'll let you know, because that I am not aware of that. Oh, he has a 2025 CRV hybrid.
There you go.
Okay, so it is something brand new. Okay, that's new, and that's going to knock hybrid or Honda off my list a little bit.
And interesting, well, but I think you'll find that's really common. An interesting thing with the CarPlay and different manufacturers is, so GM now no CarPlay in any of their EVs, since the Bolt used to have it, but the new Equinox and Blazer and whatnot. Now Honda is currently selling an EV called the Prologue, and it is a Chevy Blazer. It's made on a Chevy production line, and if you look at them, it's the same, except it says Honda on the back instead of Equinox. But the Honda does have CarPlay, even though it's otherwise identical. Same body, same motors, same battery. But Honda is like, no, we're gonna allow CarPlay, and the same exact car. If you buy it from GM, it doesn't have CarPlay.
Interesting. So Paul says for the Honda subscription, it's through the Honda Link software or Honda Link app or both, and it's remote start and stop. So
I think that might be almost universal, although maybe Tesla doesn't charge for that, but like Hyundai and Kia have that, and Toyota apparently, and I think I think the remote stuff, they're all like, yeah. And they'll give you like 3 years free, so a lot of people just like lease their car for 3 years, so they don't even,
Yeah.
know
Well,
this is happening.
I have a 2020 Honda Accord hybrid, and I can do remote start and stop. Yeah, sorry, remote start and shut off from my fob, but I don't know that I have an option for the Link.
Well,
but that may be new.
That's not really remote. I mean, you've got to be pretty close to the car for that, right? So this thing with the, I can sit in here at my desk. I can bring up my car on my phone, and I can lock and unlock it and stuff like that. Or even if I'm, miles away, I can do that. So that's what this remote stuff is. So I don't think even any 2020 cars offered that. That's something pretty recent.
Rich says he has 2020 tracks, but doesn't. He originally his comment said he didn't have a subscription. Then he corrected it and said $10 a month for remote start. So I'm learning a lot here, guys. Thank you. Oh, but Rich said the fob is free. So
yeah, I think that's almost universal.
I don't know. Webb, did you raise your hand?
No. I was just we were talking about leasing cars. I lease my EV. So, and I lease it because the technology changes so much that I just want to stay current on the technology side. So, I
love. I'm always fascinated by which topics resonate with this group and which don't. But this one seems to. Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll continue to take a look at it as more information comes out. Today's MacVoices is supported by MacPaw and their Cloud Cleanup feature. Try it for free and get 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. Is your cloud cluttered? Be honest. How much of what's sitting in your iCloud, Google Drive, or OneDrive do you even remember putting there? If you've hit your storage limit or you're just tired of paying for space you don't use, it's time for a real cleanup with Cloud Cleanup from MacPaw. It's part of Clean My Mac, the app that keeps your Mac running fast and organized. Cloud Cleanup connects to your favorite cloud drives and scans for the big, forgotten, space-wasting files hiding both on your device and online. You can choose to remove files completely or clear them from just the cloud, instantly freeing up gigabytes of space. Concerned about sensitive information being scanned? Don't be. Every scan happens locally on your Mac, so your data stays completely private and secure. If you ever change your mind, you can restore files with a click. It's smart, it's safe, it's satisfying to watch those extra gigabytes come back. So stop letting your cloud become a digital junk drawer. Get tidy today with Clean My Mac and the new Cloud Cleanup feature, proudly crafted by MacPaw and notarized by Apple. Try it free for 7 days and use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. That's CLNMY.com/MacVoices. Cloud Cleanup by MacPaw, because not everything deserves external storage. Thanks to MacPaw and Cloud Cleanup for supporting MacVoices. Next item, again, this doesn't really affect anybody here. It might affect some of our friends that are listening to this after hours or back in the feeds. But it appears that the UK government, after allegedly backing down on getting Apple to provide a backdoor, in September did go back and ask them to do a backdoor, but for British citizens.
Yeah, because that's how it works.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
It's only one part of the cloud, the British part of the cloud.
The British part.
Yeah.
And Chuck, you said this probably affects only our UK friends. That's not true, because if the UK were actually able to accomplish this, it opens the door for every other government to do the same. So it would absolutely affect us, just not probably as immediately as it would affect UK citizens.
Yeah, good point, Jeff. Good point. We're back to this again. We've made this point. The politicians don't seem to understand how the tech works, and they have no interest in understanding how the tech works. And do I need to remind anybody about the FCC leaking the iPhone E schematics that we talked about last week? It's like they aren't real good with keeping secrets.
Nope.
Frustrating.
What use are the schematics to anyone?
The fact that they were marked confidential, Jim. That's all I need to know. I think they're useless.
Well,
maybe they are, but that's kind of not the point.
It gets the list of equipment that in theory is coming out really soon out way before anybody wanted it to come out, and confirmed a bunch of models.
Well, that's I guess that's a point. But nobody's going to do anything with the schematic.
I bet you Huawei would be real interested in the 16E schematics.
I don't think so. What good are they going to do with it? All the, it's just a bunch of boxes that, where the chips, all the smarts that are in the chips, that's where the valuable IP is. A schematic is something that was valuable in the 1970s, but in 2025, the schematic is it's just not. There's nothing there because everything's inside the chips.
Yeah, but you're still burying the lead. The fact is they leaked it. That it's proprietary information and they leaked it. That's the crux of it.
Organizations leak. Full stop. Either the government agency is going to leak or the supply chain is going to leak, or that's a third of my news feed every day is something leaked somewhere.
So you're not going to mind if somebody leaks your health data or your financial data?
Well,
and you're just going to say, but that's what you're implying.
But,
that's what you're implying, that everybody
as far as
leaks.
Health data goes, who cares?
You mean leaks again? Because most of that's already been leaked once.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.